Have a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Morris?
Here.
Mr. Thorpe?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Collier?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum, Chairman.
Thank you. Notice of the meeting.
Yes, the notice of the meeting is this is the meeting of June 19th, 2017, meeting of the Auctioneer Commission. It was posted on the Auctioneer Commission's website on June 7th, 2017.
Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved and second to adopt the agenda. All in favor, aye. Aye. The minutes from February 13, 2017, has everyone read those, and anybody want to?
Second.
Moved and second to approve the minutes. All in favor, aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, next is education request.
Yes, if you look at the first one, there's two listed. The first one was the Tennessee Auctioneers Association. They met just recently, but due to our last cancellation, didn't have the opportunity to approve those in advance. If you were noticed and had a chance to look at those, if there's any questions or anything as far as follow-up required, let me know. Otherwise, we just need to vote to approve those. But I think page 5 gives you the agenda of what they covered.
But they already did all this. I was at the TAA.
Yes, sir.
And that was a big bone of contention that they didn't know that they had to have it, 2 meetings ahead of time. Is there any? Do we have the authority to approve it where that CE would be approved retroactively?
Yes, sir.
We can?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the guys that took the course get credit for it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I make the motion that we approve it.
Second.
Well, we have a discussion. I want to know who told them that they could go ahead and do the class, and then it'd be okay.
They didn't. The meeting was already scheduled. The speakers were already scheduled to speak. We made the announcement that we would like for them to stick around and have the education, but it probably would not count. And so everybody that took it under the premise that it would not count as CE, and so there was no assurances given that it would be approved.
Well, under what grounds are we approving it?
It's just a course that they would
Well,
normally.
who was the teacher?
Well, it's in your thing, Howard.
I
Look
know.
at it.
But my problem with this is, if we have somebody teaching a class that's broken the rules,
They didn't break the rules.
they have broken the rules before. The teacher.
I'm talking about they didn't break the rules by applying for
I'm
continuing
not talking
education
about they. I'm talking about the instructor that asked for their approval.
Well, David Allen did not.
Was David Allen the teacher?
Yes.
Was
That's what I said. Read the thing.
On page 3 and 4 states David Allen was one of the instructors, and on page 4, Will McLemore was the other instructor.
If you want to approve one and not the other, you can do that.
Well, Mr. McLemore has been here and had a fine for breaking the rules. And if you break the rules, I don't believe that you should be teaching a class of other auctioneers. So my vote is no.
Hadn't had to vote yet, Howard.
It's still no. Anybody else have any discussion?
Break the rules for?
You were here when you came before the board.
I think we had a hearing. I think there was a hearing with Mr. McLemore.
He was offering commissions to anybody to bring a referral to him for an auction.
He was giving them, and not only auction.
giving them, and he advertised how many $1,000s he'd paid to people for giving him referrals for auction. Yeah.
For discussion?
A motion if we decide.
There's been a motion, but no second.
Okay.
I'll second Jeff's.
Okay, Jonathan seconded.
Roll call, please.
Jeff Morris,
Yes?
John Thorpe, Howard Phillips,
No.
Ronald Collier,
No.
Adam Lewis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
If I could interrupt us, I'd like to introduce the Assistant Commissioner, Carter Lawrence. He's our new Assistant Commissioner and is happy to come down to our meetings and have an opportunity to talk to you all and meet you all. Carter?
Thanks, Roxanne, and I apologize. I was a little late in trying to come down here. Wanted to get in front of y'all before the meeting actually got started, so I wasn't part of the official record, but I was a little bit late. Actually, I saw a couple of y'all coming in on the elevator this morning. I didn't recognize you since I hadn't met you yet, but I, like Roxana said, am the new Assistant Commissioner, so overseeing the regulatory boards here for Commerce and Insurance. Been here about 3 months, so I guess this is our first overlap. Look forward to working with all of you and the great staff that you have supporting y'all in the work that you're doing. So I've got business cards that I'll leave down here. If you need to get me for any reason, please feel free to reach out. But thanks again for letting me come down, and thanks, Roxana, for the introduction.
Thank you for your time.
I'm going to try to come back down afterwards when y'all are wrapping up, so I can
Okay, well, thank
go
you,
around
and
and
you're
shake
welcome
hands.
to stay. Well, you might want to leave if you look who just came in the door.
Well, I don't know them, but I'm still going to take off. I'll come back down later on. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, back to the education request and approval. If you go to page, I believe it's 8. Let me take a look. Yeah, it is page 8. We have the Missouri Professional Auctioneers Association. It's a revisit from our last meeting. Right behind page 8, you'll have a list of 3 courses, but the question was basically what was the purpose of requesting CE credit, and is it strictly classroom courses or is it online? And if you look at their response at the very top, they're stating that it's strictly classroom courses, and we seek approval for CE as we have one auctioneer attending that has a Tennessee license and would like to have approval for CE. So that's their response to that.
It makes perfect sense.
Need a vote. Is there a motion to approve?
Move that we approve it.
Is there a second to approve?
I'll second.
Moved in second. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Chairman. Now to the budget report. Under the director's report, if you look at that, we'll just look at the last month, and then we'll look at the yearly, so we can get an idea of the trends versus the overall health of the budget as well. Looks like our collection revenues, total revenue for April was $18,395, and the expenses for April was $10,338, which left us a net surplus of $8,000. And if you look at the year, just to the right of that, as we're nearing the end of the fiscal year, you have a total revenue of $190,765, and then a total expenditure of $128,055, which leaves for this fiscal year a total of $62,710 in net surplus. And that's not counting the reserves. That's just for this fiscal year.
We need a motion to approve the budget.
Straight.
Yes, sir, I need to be kept straight.
If we could move to the application reviews.
That'll be great.
There's two applications. If you go to number 5, I believe, it should be listed on your iPad, application reviews. But first we have the Western College of Auctioneering, if we can take a look at that.
Where are they out of, Glenn?
It looks like Montana. Mhm.
They're just wanting to teach a class.
Yes, sir.
Well, it looks like they're just as qualified as anybody that we've approved, maybe more so than some. There a motion to approve?
Move we approve, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Moved in second. All in favor? Aye.
Great. If we go to page 21 of 43, we have Mr. King. He's present here today, and we have his application listed as well. If you go to page 22, you'll see his letter. And if you want to take a moment just to kind of revisit that and read that before he approaches the podium.
Come on up, Mr. King.
Licensed auctioneer in the state of Alabama. I've lived in the state of Tennessee my whole life. Starting all over, I'd like to get a waiver from the 80-hour pre-license course and just all test for that auctioneer application. And I've completed as an auctioneer, and when he passed away in 2000.
You got your auctioneer license for the state of Alabama, and you live in the state of Tennessee.
Sarah, do we have that authority?
I'm going to have to look into this. This is the first that I'm hearing of it, so I need to look really quick.
I think this came up once before, whether we even had the authority to do that under the statute.
Yeah, that's something I'll have to double check, so.
You can sit down if you like. We might have you stay.
We understand your
45
case,
minutes.
and we sympathize with you, but whether we have that authority or not, I don't know.
Well, we haven't had it in the past.
I don't think we do right off the top of my head, but I'm going to double check really
All right.
quick. So.
If we want to move on to the next one, then we'll just revisit Mr. King's application. We have Brandon DeWitt. Are you here today? Is there Mr. Brandon DeWitt? No. If you would go to page 39, he wrote a letter and then kind of addressing what he's asking for, and then just I'll give you a chance to read that, and then he's got his supports there as well. Also on page 42, his response to us as well.
In your own words, could you tell us what Mr. DeWitt is asking for?
Looks like reciprocity through reciprocity. He's taken the he's submitted an application for apprentice license. submitted, of course, showing us that he's passed the Tennessee Apprentice Auctioneer examination, and then giving us his bona fides from where his other licenses are: Mississippi, Arkansas.
I'm still not clear on what he's asking us to approve.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
His letter says he's wanting to change out his sponsoring auctioneer with another guy, but I don't know what that has to do with us.
I think just reciprocity.
From which state?
Mississippi, Arkansas.
One.
On page 39, he just states that he's a licensed auctioneer, and he's saying that we won't reciprocate if he's a resident of Missouri, and so I think that's really the crux of the issue.
He lives in Missouri, but he has a Mississippi and Arkansas
Yes, sir.
license, and he's wanting to reciprocate.
Yes, sir.
Did you say?
Again, I don't know that we have the authority to do that.
Well, that's about the same situation.
Yeah,
here,
it's the issue with Mr. King is that under reciprocity, you have to be a non-resident of the state of Tennessee, and he's actually a resident of the state of Tennessee, so he has to meet our qualifications, and we cannot waive those. And I believe that's the same with Mr. DeWitt.
Right, we don't have the authority to do that.
Did you say that he has a Tennessee apprentice license?
No, he just took the test, just passed the test.
But he passed the test to get a Tennessee apprentice
did,
license.
right.
He did that before he knew what he was doing, evidently.
And I think his issue is also he's a resident of Missouri, and in Missouri you can be an auctioneer without a license.
Right.
So he would need to do everything in Tennessee the way that a Tennessee resident does it. So
Him and Mr. King obviously are in the same boat. So once we get a ruling on, I guess, a determination on that, we'll know going forward.
you do not have the authority to waive
All right.
the requirements.
That's my point. I don't think we even have the authority to do that. Either one of those requests.
That'll be our response then to Mr. DeWitt as well.
We'd love to help them out, but we don't. We can't pass we can't just say yes just because we want to.
Right. Yes, sir.
Mr. King, according to our attorney, we're not going to be able.
And I apologize that you came all the way up here without having clear understanding from the board.
Why can if I apply for the regular Tennessee license, can I have my apprenticeship count from Alabama and waive the ADR class and go straight to the
We can't
auctioneer?
waive any of that. That's by statute.
So there is no other authority I can go to. So I'm just out of luck.
No, sir, you're not out of luck. You can take your Tennessee apprentice license, and you can do anything with that you can do with your auctioneer license as long as your sponsor you have a sponsor, and it shouldn't affect you anything other than your apprentice instead of an auctioneer.
You just have to
But
go
you still
through
have
the
to take that
apprentice program.
8-hour class.
Yeah,
Howard.
you had.
Yes, you got to go through all the steps. That's what I said.
The ADR class.
Yes.
To get you whatever it is to get your apprentice license, yes, sir.
I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just that's the way the statute's written.
No problem.
What's next, sir?
That'll be our response going forward as well to articulate that out, since there was still some sort of confusion as to whether or not that authority existed. But since that's been resolved, we'll make sure that any of the future applicants are aware.
Well, we've never given anybody that license living out of state.
Very well. The legal report then.
Not in the last 12 years, anyway.
Would you like me to read the entire thing in as we go along, or have you already reviewed it and have questions? How would you like to proceed?
I've read them. I'm fine. I don't know. Anybody else?
In other words, if you don't have to read it, you'll be a happier lady. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I'll be happier later if you just say do whatever you want, but that's not really the point. No, it's up to you all how you want to handle it. If you want me to read it, I'm happy reading it. I just didn't know how you'd like to go forward. But, and also before we go forward with the legal report, I wanted to let you know that in October, at your meeting in October, I will probably have 3 trials on that day.
3. So
That'd be
bring your
wonderful.
lunch, huh?
Oh, and a sleeping bag.
Well, if you don't care, I would like for you to read them, or you can explain the circle. You don't have to read it word for word, okay?
Well, it might be easier to read in word for word. We'll see how we go. And also let you know that I'm presenting Erica's this morning. And Erica's, I've reviewed what she said, but I've not reviewed the files. Hopefully we won't have questions. If we do, we'll have to retrieve the files for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, number 1, this is a representation of a 2016 072161. Initially, this was a $1,000 civil penalty because respondent was licensed but did not have a broker's license, that is for selling real estate in an auction. So that was the original recommendation. However, in communication with the attorney for this respondent, showed the company and respondent contacted the program here about license requirements and other issues prior to that auction date in question. The staff assured the respondent that respondent was in compliance as there was a real estate licensee in charge who would handle all the financial transactions. Phone logs showed communications with the program. Therefore, my recommendation now is to dismiss, as respondent did check with the program regarding this particular issue before going forward with that auction and was assured that they could go forward with the auction of the real property in question.
You're saying we shouldn't fine him because we told him it was okay even though
That's
it
right.
wasn't.
That's right. Especially since they took the time to call and ask about it.
Right.
I mean, if they have just made this up,
Right.
I wouldn't be saying this, but
Who did they talk to?
I can't tell you who they talked to because I don't know.
But it wasn't this board.
No. It was the program.
It was a member of program staff, and we've already addressed that with the staff.
You're saying because it's our error, we shouldn't fine them.
And I do think that's right. I mean, if they were told they didn't need the license because they had a licensee there doing it, then I don't see how we can charge them for being unlicensed.
Well, if you don't see how they can charge them for being unlicensed, I don't either. So I recommend we take council's
I'll
advice.
make that motion for you, Howard.
Second.
Okay. Moving second, all in favor, aye.
Okay, number 2, 2017-009741. In this complaint, the complainant used a respondent for auction was paying a check that bounced, and complainant provided a copy of the agreement and canceled check. I'm going to tell you that we tried very hard to try to find this particular respondent. All mail has been returned, so we requested personal service from our investigation department to deliver it. The location where they were holding auctions is no longer operating. The litigator made several attempts to locate the respondent, was unsuccessful, made telephone calls, traveled to the former location, now occupied by another business entirely. Spoke with the owner of the building, who stated the owner had been evicted in July. They found a location for a respondent owner in a country store, but when called, was told the owner came in now and then, was not working there. It appears that this person is not in business and cannot be located. My recommendation is to dismiss, but we could also flag it as well in case something came up. We could use this against them in the future. But right now, I can't really go forward if I can't get the person. It is.
So the complainant's still not been paid, right?
Well, I have no idea.
You can't find the complainant?
No. Well, we were trying to find the respondent so we could get all of
Okay.
this. I have no idea. This was old in any event. It's been over a year. But they have if they could find him, they of course can go to civil court to take care of that.
Right.
Make a motion to accept council's advice.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 3, 2017-0114471. This is very long.
I read that. It is very long.
It is very long, and the reason it's very long is that the complaint itself was in excess of 400 pages, and let me tell you, gentlemen, I spent almost 3 days on this complaint alone, just ciphering through everything, making sure I wasn't missing anything.
I think the bottom line on this case is if he's got a case, he can go to court on it and sue. I don't think that there's a license law issue in this case. And, you know, if there's enough money there that if they really want to file a civil suit, there's enough attorneys out there that will take it. and,
Well-
and fight for the guy.
I don't disagree with you on that. When I reviewed it all and reviewed it all, it came down to me to be a series of contract questions at best,
Right.
and that's not us. They had a history of working together in the past and had a history in any event. The issues complained on really are contractual, if they're anything.
Right.
So my recommendation is to dismiss.
Like I said, I didn't see a license law fining situation in this case, and if you got unhappy sellers and unhappy auctioneers, unfortunately it happens. But if they got a problem, I think they need to file in civil court, and I would agree with you unless y'all want to go through it all.
Well, I think we've all read it. My personal opinion is that the auctioneer and the seller both had a little misunderstanding, and when they changed the date of the auction, I think that kind of gave the seller a little wiggle room, but I agree with you 100%.
I would move that we dismiss the case.
Moved in second to dismiss the case. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Next is 2017-011841. In this particular matter, the complainant is the property owner and the respondent, the licensee, and owner of the respondent below. This also has to do with an auction where only 3 bidders showed up. It is in litigation, and the only thing I have in the file are the complaint in litigation and the response in litigation. Quite honestly, I'm not certain that it's anything more than a contract matter and reviewing everything we have, but if a finding in civil court found that there was any misrepresentation, even though it was not alleged, or incompetency, even though it was not alleged, then there would be a violation of our laws. But otherwise, I don't think there would be any violation of the auctioneer's laws. So we could do a litigation monitoring to allow review on the conclusion of the civil trial. And that's for both number 4 and number 5, which is 2017-018861.
Your recommendation is?
To a litigation monitoring, just in case something shows up that we don't know about.
Move we accept council's recommendation on
Second.
both of these.
Moved in second that we accept it on both of them.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
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 The next set are from Miss Erica Smith. The first one's a representation from a February 2017 meeting, and in that particular meeting, that she had recommended that the complaint be dismissed, and the commission had voted to authorize a litigation monitoring order. And then she discussed this matter with the parties and was informed the lawsuit filed against the respondent had been dismissed. So her new recommendation, of course, is to dismiss the matter.
Make a motion, go with legal's advice.
Second.
Moved in second to accept legal's advice. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Number 7, 2016-063111 is also a representation. This was filed in February of 2017. Apparently, the complainant said she contacted respondent to sell her household good items after deciding to move into assisted living. Respondent did not reply to the complaint, and the recommendation was a consent order for $500 for the failure to account or remit money belonging to others. This was recommended and voted on, and a $1,000 civil penalty was approved by this board. Since then, complainant has spoken with respondent, received much documentation that respondent did make a list of items auctioned, communicated the prices at which the items will be listed, provided an itemized accounting of the items auctioned to the complainant, and has paid complainant all monies owed for the items auctioned. Documents include emails outlining the options to sell items and the pricing and bidding and selling procedures, emails stating respondent had tried to contact complainant many times and could not get in touch with her, copies of checks showing payment to complainant for the items auctioned, a 10-page itemized list of the items sold and the prices for each item, and also provided proof that responded to the complaint in a timely manner. Complainant feels the respondent should have received more money for many of the items auctioned, but respondent adhered to the auction business practices and bidding processes that were explained to the complainant before she decided to sell the items to respondent. Complainant is unable to provide any evidence to show that respondent misled complainant about how many items would be sold or misled her in any way. After reviewing all that documentation, the council feels there's no evidence of any violation of the law or rules, and therefore her recommendation is to dismiss.
My question is, when this case first came up, the respondent had a chance to provide all that information on the front end, and we wouldn't have gotten to the point that we got to. Why was that not available then?
And I cannot answer that question. I don't know why the respondent did not respond immediately.
I know how these things work. I mean, he gets a copy, he has time to respond, and apparently he just didn't respond to the first time.
And that could be true. I mean, I honestly don't know. Do you know, by any chance?
He didn't respond in the beginning, no, until he got the consent.
I think she didn't get enough for what she thought she was going to get out of her merchandise, and she got mad and threw a fit.
filed it.
I understand that, but and I appreciate that. But why didn't he give us all of that on front, and we wouldn't have had to go through
Well,
all of
I
that?
agree. It's too bad. Some programs, by the way, have a law that says if you don't respond, there's within 70 days you get a penalty, but y'all don't have that. So you can't punish someone for not responding because there's no law.
I know, but my point is, we issued
I
the
agree.
consent order. Then and only then did he dig in his
Agreed.
file and find all the stuff and said, "Well, here's what we did." I don't know why the lady's complaining. Well, this was. Yeah, he just ignored it. Is what he did.
Maybe he thought we weren't serious to start with.
That's my point.
Thought the complaint wasn't serious because he had all the documentation and didn't think it was necessary. I don't know. I mean,
That's why you have to provide it so that we.
So your recommendation is?
not mine. Ms. Smith's recommendation is to dismiss.
Whose recommendation?
Erica Smith's. She's the one who reviewed it. I'm presenting hers. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you, gentlemen. If there's another violation based on the failing to respond, then I think you've got a good action going forward. But if you don't have something for that, I don't know what we'd have going forward. I mean, what would you charge him with?
Well, he now has complied with everything, right? And you had I don't know this for a fact, but it sounds to me like you had a young lady or a middle-aged lady or elderly lady, one that sold her goods at his auction, and she was just absolutely not happy about the price bought. And if you haven't ever had that go through that, you're a lucky person.
I won't disagree with you on that either.
But I do think that Robin has a point that maybe that could be something in the future that we looked at, is adding some kind of requirement to respond. I know that the Real Estate Commission has a 10-day period, so if they don't respond within 10 days, you can.
Is that something that we can do, or is that something we have to have enacted?
It would have to be statutory, so it would have to be a proposal, and we can talk about it later on under the legislative proposals, but it
Okay.
may be something.
All right.
And I just wanted to let you know, Rihanna looks over everything. You guys don't have any idea what a great paralegal she is and how lucky we are to have her. She tells me that when reviewing this with Erica, that the complainant is actually complainant's family member was the one.
Wasn't the complainant? It wasn't the actual owner? Okay. All right. Well, I move we to accept legal's recommendation to dismiss the case.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor say aye.
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 Sorry, 2017-002771. This complaint was lodged by a complainant alleging respondents conducting auctions without a license. Complainant states respondent operates an auction every Saturday night at which he auctions off stuff. An investigator from us was sent to location to collect more information, and before he went, he called the respondent, asked when the next auction would be held. Respondent stated the store was closed for winter and there were no auctions. At this point, the investigator identified himself and informed respondent of the complaint. Respondent stated at one point he considered having an auction, but he did not know what he was doing, and said it ended up being more of a sale of various items, not an auction. Investigator asked respondent about a screenshot, including a complaint from his Facebook page, which states, seller of used furniture and various items auctions on Saturday night. Respondent further stated that any Facebook pages were left over from this sale and have since removed any posts referencing an auction. Investigator obtained a second screenshot from Facebook, which showed many comments from various customers that compliment the respondent's items for sale and state they love the auction on Saturday nights. Investigator then reviewed the respondent at the location described in the complaint. The respondent again denied having auctions and claimed the complainant is not real. The investigator observed large furniture items at the auction but did not see any signs, advertisements, or any evidence of a past or upcoming auction. The parking lot location had room for only 5 or 6 cars, and the parking spaces were shared with the nearby UPS store. Respondent also introduced the investigator to a licensed auctioneer who respondent plans to hire in the future to conduct auctions. Investigator obtained a sworn statement from respondent, which states respondent understands it's illegal to conduct auctions without a license, and further states he does not have auctions but only owns a furniture store. The licensed auctioneer also signed the sworn statement listing his phone number and license number. Her recommendation was a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity in violation of 6219-102A1.
Any discussion? Is there a motion? We need a break?
This is just one of those. I mean,
I think we heard this same thing before, didn't we? It was very familiar anyway.
it's like a broken record.
It is like a broken record.
I know if you want to see it, go up to East Tennessee in the mountains, and you drive by on Friday evening, and there's no sign, and then you Saturday morning the auction tonight.
I know.
Guys are trying to make a living.
Here's what we have, then my understanding, okay? My understanding. He was selling items. Whether an auction actually took place, I can't tell you that from the report.
But the investigator went to the building when he was supposedly having an auction.
And there was not an auction going on.
So we have no proof that the guy had an auction.
What we have is a Facebook page that says they like the auctions.
Fake news.
I don't know that the guy will pay the fine if we issue it. I mean, that's the.
Well, here's the hope thing for you all, if you want to look at it in a different light. They have an auctioneer, licensed auctioneer. So if there are auctions in the future, apparently there is going to be somebody licensed doing it. So the message was heard if you want to look at it that way.
Right.
I don't think you should ever, in life, or in an auctioneer board meeting, you shouldn't fine somebody for something that you don't have proof they done. And if the investigator went to the scene and there was no auction, then we have no proof that there was an auction.
Well,
May I suggest this?
Yes.
Can we monitor this guy and have this thing flagged so that if he does it again, then we've got something we can bring this back up?
We can, and we can also issue a letter of warning.
Let's do that. I've moved that we monitor the guy, send him a letter, and if he does it again, then we got something to go on. That's my motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we send him a letter of warning if he does it again.
No, not if he does it again. Send a letter now, and we'll monitor him, and if he does it again, then we've got this case to build on to issue a more severe fine in the future.
It'll be flagged so that if another case came up, this case would come up as well.
All in favor, aye.
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 Number 9, 2017-005041. A complaint was received alleging respondent had been conducting auctions for over a year without a license or a licensed auctioneer. A screenshot from an auction committee directory website shows respondent's name and contact information and provides an auctioneer ID number for the respondent, which is assigned by the website company. The address listed on the website is the same address alleged to be the location of the auctions, which is referenced in the complaint. The complaint also alleges respondent had changed their business name during this time, stopped auctioning for 3 weeks, and then conducted an auction on January 21st, 2017 at 7 p.m. The complaint further states respondent guarantees the products but does not stand behind the guarantees and charges 10% sales tax. A investigation was requested, and an investigator visited the location referenced in the complaint at least 5 times between February and March of 2017. Investigator did not find any evidence of unlicensed activity during the visits, nor did he see anyone at the location during the visits. Investigator states there's a sign on the building at the location with the name of the respondent's previous company, which is referenced in the complaint to be the original name respondent used before changing it to the current company name. The name on the sign includes the name word auction. The investigator spoke with complainant on March 16, 2017. The complainant stated there was an auction on January 21st, 2017. Complainant also stated he would send an official statement to the investigator by March 10th, but no statement has been received. Counsel has requested pictures of or evidence of unlicensed activity, and complainant stated he would send pictures at will, but no pictures have been received. The investigator did provide a picture of the building on location, which shows the auction sign mentioned above. On December 2nd, 2015, another complaint was received by the department stating respondent's owner had been holding weekly auctions at the same location on Saturday nights and been posting advertisements of the auctions on Facebook. This complaint was dismissed on April 4, 2016, based on the information counsel received showing respondents sold the company prior to the advertised auctions referenced in this complaint. Thus, no proof is available to show any violation on behalf of the respondent. Although the investigator did not find any proof of any licensed activity during his visits to location, counsel finds respondent is still advertising as an auction company on the internet and by using the auction sign in the building at the respondent's location, and therefore her belief is that respondent is engaged in. Her recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity.
He has auctions when he wants to have auctions, and
I guess. So far they didn't have any.
but no proof. But no proof that he's
But
had
no proof
one.
that he had one.
Except January, we don't have any proof of the January.
No, and I
auction.
wish the complainant had followed through, because then we would have something. Like having a date made me much more confident in reading this, but
Howard's point, until we can prove that he's done it, I don't know what we can do.
Same difference as the last one, isn't it?
yes, similar situation. Can I prove it? I don't have to try this one.
I didn't ask you that. I said we
Just
can't.
because we think
You
it don't mean it happened. you
That's
know?
right. Just because we think it doesn't mean it happened. If ever we were to get the information showing an auction took place, yes, but so far the investigator was not able to get that, and we weren't able to get that.
What if we do this? What if we just not do anything on this case and wait and see if he follows through and brings us any information on it, and then we can kind of look at it and.
Well, that would put us over 180 days. What we can do is close and flag it and reopen it based on the information we get. Can we do that?
We can do that, or we can treat it the same as the other one with flagging
Same,
it and
yeah.
monitoring
That's
it.
what I meant,
And the
yeah.
letter of warning as well, just
Same
that way it's
difference
there.
as the last case, so
Yeah.
that's what I would recommend.
I agree.
Second that.
Been recommended and second that we issue a letter of warning. Is that what we're going to do?
Flag it.
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
Do we know if any of the $67,000 they owe us has been paid?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Adding another $1,000 on top of it would matter anyway.
It won't matter.
I doubt it's been paid. No, it's not been paid.
No, and it's not going to be paid today or ever. And if you want to go,
Is that 60? That's the one that we did. They had all the different counts, and we added them all up, and we.
yes,
That's it.
that's it.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a
He's
motion.
going to do what he wants to do anyway.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor, aye.
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 Hey, gentlemen, last one. Yes, number 10, 2017-017451. Complainant bought various items for his restaurant from respondent through bidding on respondent's auction website. Complainant states that many of the items, such as the drink display, cooler, refrigerator, and freezer, were all in bad shape, and at least 6 items had electrical cords that had been cut and not in operating condition. Complainant further states items were not advertised but be in the condition they arrived in after he purchased them, and alleges respondent is misrepresenting the items they sell. Complainant also alleges that respondent is operating without the proper license but provided screenshots from the respondent's website, which states respondent is not a licensed auctioneer or auction company and operate as an auction mediation company only. Complainant also provided an invoice for the items.
Hold on a minute. Would you reread that, please?
I will. Respondent is not an auctioneer or auction firm and operates as an auction mediation company only. Complainant also provided an invoice for the items purchased from respondent, and the invoice states the items can be picked up at the respondent's warehouse location and to look for the respondent's auction signs. Counsel conducted I think she meant internet
Internal.
research. Oh, internal. Well, I thought you meant internet. Anyway, on the respondent's website, and found the website states that respondent operates restaurant equipment auctions, commercial auctions, industrial auctions, and various other types of auctions. The respondent is one of 3 separately owned and operating divisions of a parent company. Respondent states she sells items as is with no warranties and at a price that is 70 to 90% lower than retail price. Respondent does not understand why complainant would expect the items to be in better condition based on the prices he paid for the items. Respondent denies that any electrical cords were cut or damaged on any items when they left her warehouse. Complainant used movers to deliver the large items to his restaurant, and respondent claims any damage could have been done by the movers or by the complainant. Respondent further states that she is not an auctioneer but has an online bidding service comparable to eBay, and all auctions are timed listings. Respondent further states she does not need a license because she falls under an exception to the licensing requirements for auctioneer. Counsel emailed respondent to request more details regarding her understanding of the exception, but respondent has not responded. Ms. Smith's recommendation was dismissed because Ms. Smith believes that respondent falls under the exception in TCA 6219-103.
Now, this is the thing. This is going to be the can of worms here. Do we have any proof that there was no extended bidding on her website?
I reviewed the website and saw that it was a timed listing, but couldn't find any proof that they are or are not extending time.
But I don't think we should spend a lot of time on this because we went before the legislature trying to get something done. We didn't get anybody to back us up. I don't want to discuss what they did, but I'm telling you, this is going to bite everybody here in the butt if something's not done about it. You may as well take your auctioneer license, put them in a hat, and throw them down the river, because without something is done, ladies and gentlemen, it is over. And when you've got people from the TAA soliciting and not wanting to have a license to do online auctions, we're in bad shape. And that's all I've got to say about that.
Well, if she truly falls within that exception, then I think we don't have any other choice but to dismiss the case. But I highly doubt that she does. I
you
think
can also flag this one as well.
I would watch them, and if we can find another auction where they extend the bidding on any item at all, then I would assume that this one was too. And they're an internet-only company, so it's pretty easy to watch them.
Well, you can watch them till the cow come home, but you can't do nothing about it.
Well, you can if they extend the league. We can issue fines under that case.
You can issue them a fine, but until we have a license law that has some teeth in it, you're not going to be able to collect it.
No argument from me. I agree with you 100%. That's my motion.
I'll second.
What was your motion?
we're gonna flag them and watch them and see if we can catch them.
There's a motion made to flag them and watch them. All in favor and say aye. Aye. Lord have mercy.
That concludes the legal report, gentlemen.
Before you leave, would you find out what the gentleman's name was that wanted to know about complaints on the online auction? We need to, from over the chairman of the committee, we might want to pass this on to him.
Chairman Bell?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? As I said, look forward to October. Now, let me bring up another issue that I could just sort of bring this up, but just something for thinking about in the future. We fortunately only have about 5 litigation cases right now, and I'm going to do 3 or 4 of them in October, and they're all unlicensed. Thus far, my understanding is everything comes before you all, but if you don't want to sit all day for hearings, you can also give some power to an ALJ if you decide to do that at a later point.
I probably won't be here, but I would absolutely not be in favor of that. I think that the board should hear the complaints.
I'm just saying you do have that option.
Well, and Howard, what she's explaining is the cases that go on to litigation. So after you've already decided there's a civil penalty and they decide not to sign the consent order, then when it comes to litigation, it could be ALJ only, and then you all wouldn't have to come back for that. The Real Estate Commission for unlicensed activity does ALJ only for unlicensed only. So that way she can set those cases on other days and the ALJ will make the decision.
And just to let you know that our ALJs are very good about following the law, and you guys probably already know this about me already. I'm a pretty aggressive attorney, and And so I'd have confidence the ALJ will hear me, I guess is what I'm saying. So it's something to consider.
Well, thank you very much.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. You too. All right, where we at, guys? Legislature's proposal, TAA commission. Proposed commission meeting date. What's the next date we're proposing?
Well, the first one we wanted to address was the legislative proposals, or the TAA. They sent I guess something that they would like a response on.
I sent this email to you, I believe, Howard. It's on your iPads. They just had some questions.
I was just wanting to hold that to last.
Okay.
Get the other two little things out of the way.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
That'd be perfect. Which one did you want to do next, sir?
When's our next meeting?
Yeah.
So do you want to
Actually, the calendar for next year, I think, is what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's the calendar for next year. There's 4 proposed dates for the commission meeting dates, and if that looks like that'll work for your calendar, and it's basically a replication of what we've already done this year, and we're just applying that to next year and trying to get on the calendar, because before long, 2018 will be upon us.
We're only going to do 4 meetings next year. Is what
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they're just quarterly.
Yes, sir. So if there's obviously if there's discussion, we'll have that first. But the motion would be either to accept or amend that accordingly based on what's presented.
Will we have that notice go out to people so they know if they want anything, get on that agenda, or they need something by a certain date that they know when we're going to have those meetings?
We'll meet once approved. We'll post those on the website immediately.
I make a motion to accept.
Moved in second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
While you're on dates, I know we discussed prior to the meeting of canceling the August meeting and not meeting again until October. So
Well, the next meeting will be
October 16th.
October 16th, next meeting. A PSI update.
Yes, we were contacted by PSI. They've got I guess a new director of testing that's over, and one of his responsibilities is auctioneers, among others. And apparently they review their tests to see how current they are every year. And upon taking this new post, he realized that the last one that they've had was, I believe, 2012. So the current test as it is in need of an update. And typically how they do that is they assemble a panel of subject matter experts. And those subject matter experts, hopefully will be folks that can cover all the tests. And the tests, just for the record and for those that may be listening, are Tennessee Apprentice Auctioneer Test, the Tennessee Auctioneer Test, Tennessee Gallery Owner, and then the Tennessee Non-Auctioneer Firm Owner. And what they're looking for is they need about 4 to 6 subject matter experts to serve as that panel. They're going to conduct a 2-day review of the test, and then based on that review, and they intend, of course, reimburse expenses and per diem as well, but of those subject matter experts. But they're going to go over all the items. There's 244 unique items total in need of review and updates. So just unique items that they want to revisit, make sure they're current, anything to be added to that or taken out, maybe that's not as pertinent, since as things move in the last 5 years, maybe some adjustments there. They prefer to recruit individuals across all the license, all the exams rather, that can hit every one of those items, every one of those exams. It just makes it easier for edits. Doesn't have to be, but really, I guess what they're looking from the board is either volunteers or recommendations or suggestions of folks that they know or that you could suggest to them that could serve on that panel and would like to do so, and then we would refer that to them, and they would do basically an orientation going over what I just introduced, but in a more finite detail to that panel, and that'll be on August the 10th and 11th is when they would have that discussion. And it would be here. All that would be here. So just something to think about. There's not necessarily any
No action from the board today.
Yes, sir. Just suggestions.
But they're looking for volunteers.
They're looking for they would like the board to kind of to guide that. If you yourself would like to serve, or if you know of someone that could serve in that capacity, to that end than just suggestions that they would like of folks that could serve in that.
How
area.
many people are they looking for to help them?
About 4 to 6 is, they said, is really the key group.
If I could, we're also going to need a board member there. So either Glenn or I will represent the office and make sure that the 2 days are productive. These questions are the questions that are either too easy, too difficult, they're having issues with. So their psychometric system
Right.
kicks these out, and you're aware of that. So these would be experts that you recommend, and you're welcome to email those names to either Glenn or I so that we can start forwarding them to PSI. And we want to get at least probably 8 or 10 names because people won't be able to, since the date's already been set. But the more experts they are in that field, the better, because then they'll, understand the questions and the entire dynamic.
Well, do you think that we need to notify the TAA of this, and maybe they have some suggestions?
Go that route. And today we will need to know which board member would want to participate, since we're not having a meeting in August, and this would have been before anyway. Only one board member can be there, so it's not considered.
I'll tell you
an
one
open
that
meeting.
does not want to be there.
It's the 10th and 11th.
Yes.
I can't be there.
I can do it if y'all want me to do it.
Take 2 board members?
We wouldn't be able to, because
Oh,
at that
okay.
point, the questions
Boy.
are open.
Good.
But the next time around, we will take someone else, yes.
Okay. Sorry, am I interrupting you? Okay.
That will work. I think my term expires in August anyway, so that'll wrap me up.
A year from now.
No, now. Now.
Another year.
No. I'm done. Yeah, I asked Roxanne. She checked on it. I am out.
He's done.
No, you have to serve 3 years, sir.
I did.
Finished the 3
And I
years,
have.
it's only been 2.
Check the record. I'm done.
We've checked it out.
Can I get in that category?
Well.
My term is up.
My wonderful governor has some work to do, doesn't he? Jeff, I really thought you had another year.
I'm
Me
done.
and you didn't come on the same time.
I'm just telling you. I had her check, and my term is up in August. Hey, the dates don't lie.
Well,
Moving
I'm
on.
not real sure about that, but anyway, you guys came down here, and I appreciate it, and I'm holding you up for one reason, Charles. When we get to you, you got all the time you want. If you want to go eat lunch or supper or whatever it is, I'm going to be here with you, brother, because we got some stuff to talk about. But anyway, the next thing is,
We just the conference was one of the remaining items, and then of course at the end of all this we'll need an election of officers as well. But right now the conference is the National Auctioneers Association NAA conference, scheduled for July 11th through the 15th, and we just need to vote on allowing Ms. Matthews and Mr. Morris to represent the board, or the commission rather, to that end. And those dates again, the July 11th to July 15th.
And we normally vote on this earlier in the year so we can get registered, and I need the approval from the board for me to represent the TAC in Columbus, Ohio, at the NAA conference and show this year.
Make a motion, do.
Second.
moved in second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
I recuse.
Okie dokie. Is it my time?
Go for it.
Y'all been
all
crowding,
you.
y'all been hogging it.
Yeah.
Okay, at this time, I would like to elect officers.
We just need a motion for the chair, or it's not a motion rather, but a nomination.
I nominate John Thorpe to be chairman of the Auctioneer Commission for next year.
Second.
Been moved in second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
And I would also like to nominate Mr. Collier to be the vice chairman. Moved in second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
And it is with great difficulty, I'm holding y'all up on purpose now, that I tell you this is my last commission meeting. I've been a commissioner for 12 or 14 years. I don't remember which it is, but it's been under 3 governors, and I have thoroughly enjoyed almost all of it. There's been times that I didn't enjoy it. I went back up the road, squeezing the steering wheel and kicking the floorboard, and why were we so stupid to do this? But anyway, it's been a ride, and my term is up in August, and Mr. Morris is pulling your leg saying his is, but I guess that's 2 of us. Are you going to get renominated?
I doubt it. I don't know.
But anyway,
I can say I just got renominated 2 weeks ago.
so you're on for 6 more years.
2 more years. Took a year to get it.
Sir, what did you say, Mr. Colson? I did too. I really did. But he's probably got 3
Roxanne,
more.
Can you confirm when Jeff's term is up?
We asked administration who keeps up with appointments and what's coming through the pipelines, and they did confirm it's August 31st of this year.
So they just let him have 2 years this
I
time.
guess so. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it will end. I mean, that's when it, that date for that
He could be
appointment. He can be reappointed. Yeah.
Okay, and there's, I am not resigning from the Tennessee Auctioneer Commission. My term is up, and this gives the governor plenty of time to. He's going to have a tough time replacing me. I mean.
Yeah, he is.
Anyway, I guess the next to the last thing on the agenda is the most. Huh? Do this?
Yeah, I want to ask about
Well, you're always interrupting me.
I'm trying
Go
to tell
ahead.
you.
Ronnie has the floor.
I just wanna ask about the renewals. When you notify auctioneers, I hear this and hear it, and I didn't get one, and mine was going to be out in April, so I luckily got it back in on time. But I hear a lot of auctioneers saying I didn't get a renewal notice. Okay, so when I sent my money back in, and I'd like to know how this happened, was I didn't never get my license they were up in April, end of April. So when I called in the end of May, I said I didn't get my license. How come you already processed my money? And I was told we mailed them to your address. And I said, what address did you mail them to? And it was Athens, Tennessee. I live in 10 Mile, Tennessee. So what I want to know is, are we not sending notices to auctioneers? And if we're not, why?
Let me ask you on the Athens address, because just last week, the office manager caught something that normally we wouldn't be auditing for because the system kicked back some old addresses. Did you ever live in Athens?
No.
Never. Okay. So business address,
No.
nothing. Okay.
No.
So I need to look into that address because that doesn't make sense.
I just want to say that, why can't we send just a small card or email auctioneers and say your license are up such and such date? Okay.
Right. And we do. Those renewal notices are supposed to go out about 2 months in advance of your expiration.
Okay.
So I will look into to find out why, if it didn't, what happened, because our record maintains in your license file when it went out. So I'll need to look into, did it go out? Where did it go? The Athens address confuses me because if it's not your address, I don't know where it's pulling. So we obviously need to look into that.
It's a lot of them call me.
Oh, right.
And if we do not send them a notice and their
And we
license
do. So
expired,
are they calling the office and reporting this? Because
they're just
I
calling
haven't
me and
heard.
asking,
Okay.
well,
No.
why don't you
Point-
notify us?
Point them to Glenn or I. That way we know there's a problem. We can't fix something we don't know. That's just not possible. But the minute they say, wait a minute, I expired in April and I just happened to remember and go in, we've got to find out why those notices didn't go out, because there's so many regulatory boards that they don't leave physically from our hands.
Right.
That's an automatic process. But when there's a problem, we've got to jump on it. So I'm going to look into the address issue on yours, because that's a big issue. That means your license went somewhere else. and then they should go out automatically 2 months in advance. And the form itself actually says, now we're doing things online, renew online, and walks you through those steps.
I've tried that,
Absolutely.
and I can't. My computer will not do it.
Really? Okay.
Next thing I want to
Yes.
ask about is, a year or so ago, Nicole, I think, or 2 years, whenever it was, she really wanted to do the newsletter through the office. So we voted to do that, and nobody's got one. And I would like to say that Kentucky, I've got license in 8 states. Kentucky and North Carolina put a real nice newsletter on the internet and sends it out to all auctioneers. And I would like to know why that we've not got that started. And I know Jeff voted again doing that, which, you know, we got all of our opinions, but
Been well over a year since we got a newsletter.
nobody's got one, and I want to know why we don't have that started yet.
I think in general, and I'll look into and have the conversation with Carter that you just met, the regulatory boards just don't get in the newsletter business.
Why did she say she could do that?
I can't answer that, other than she did at the time hire someone whose strength was writing and doing newsletters. So I think her goal was probably, and her heart in the right place in trying to do that. From a timing perspective and manpower, she probably just didn't have enough time for somebody to do it. But we will look into see, so I can give you an answer. Are we okay having permission to move forward with newsletters? Right now, we definitely don't have anyone on staff that would be their strength. But I'll give you an answer, especially if it was discussed and voted on, that's an important piece to what, you know, this profession needs.
I
We
mean,
need
well,
to know
you know,
that.
if she couldn't do it, she shouldn't have told us that.
Right,
You know?
right.
And I'd like to know why, if we can do like the computer, you know, if you look on Kentucky Auctioneers Association, North Carolina, probably all of them, why couldn't we just do it just like a nice letter and email it to the auctioneers?
It's a matter of having the manpower for somebody to put together the newsletter, to
If
have
we
the
don't-
strength to write.
If we don't have the manpower, I want to go back or do something, you know, to notify them.
On Ronnie's behalf, I was a little bit hesitant on changing the newsletter because they were doing a great job. And she convinced us that you could do it in-house for zero cost other than the paper. I know it's been more than a year and we've not received one yet. So
What if we got Nashville Auction School to go back? They always did them, and it was expensive because they were mailing them. Bobby.
That's like you said. That was a part of the big deal because that was going to factor into.
Can I get you to come up,
Bobby, come
so
up.
if you're speaking, the members can hear you, and anybody watching, thank you.
That was part of the deal, if you remember, because that was going to factor into the next time it was a bid went out for doing the continuing education and stuff, because that was a big cost, printing that newsletter to the auction school, you know, to Wendell and Russell to doing that.
But to kick down on the cost, I would still like to have somebody produce it
Yeah.
and do it by email. You know. if
Yeah,
we could-
I that's what I think. I mean, if you just look at Kentucky and see what they do, if you
Arkansas
can.
does the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mississippi does the same thing.
Yeah.
It was, I think they were charging like $15,000 to $18,000 or
It
something
was
like that
upwards
to
of
do that.
10,000,
But
yeah.
but it was most of that was printing and mailing, and it wasn't their time in putting it together. But I think we could incorporate them into producing it and getting the news out, and then but not printing and mailing. You know, if we're trying to save money.
I'd be for that. I mean, but you know, we need to do something.
We have the technology, if our auctioneers, when they register and renew, when they do use the online system and update their email, we have the technology to get the newsletter out to those folks. So that's not, I think the first piece I'm going to have is get the approval that, yes, we can put together the newsletter, or go back to Nashville Auctioneers, putting it together and getting it to us
If
to
you could
email.
let them, I mean, if you need to, I'd be for, you know, like checking with them, see if they can put it together, and then you email it. I mean,
where would you get your information if you're in-house doing it?
Well, that's the concern. I think the
That
in-house
was my
person,
concern
first
to
of
begin
all,
with.
no longer exists. So that would be, I would hate to give somebody, if that's not their strength, you know.
With
we
all
could get
due
in
respect,
pieces.
I think you guys y'all got more grass than y'all can mow right now, and so I would think that anything we could farm out would be a lot better. And
Yeah, and remember, it's not how fast you mow, it's how well you mow fast. All
Watch
right.
TV, Howard.
So you will have an update at the next meeting on whether we could do it internally, what the stand is, or go back
That
out.
would be
But
great.
definitely emailing,
That
not
would
putting
be
in the mail.
great.
All right, we have one more thing before the last thing. Miss,
You gonna let those guys talk?
no,
They can't talk.
they're last.
Huh?
I've told them 7 times they're gonna be last. Mr. Colson, would you come forward, please? Come on up here. You're not on camera now. It's turned off. This guy right here, Mr. Bobby Colson, I've served on the commission with him for 9+ years. He's one of the greatest guys that I've ever met in all my life. He runs a tremendous auction. He obeys all the laws and the rules. If he breaks one, he's the first one to get forgiveness for it, right? And with that being said, the Auctioneer Commission would like to give you this in recognition of all your good and hard work.
Thank you.
And I second exactly what Howard said. I agree with that 100%. Bobby, you've been a great privilege and a joy, and we'll get a picture here in a minute, but it was great serving with you the whole time we were here.
Mr. Phillip. Thank you, John. Thank you, Howard.
You got anything to say about him?
Adam. Ronnie. Sir.
I like to say I enjoyed working with him
Thank you.
when I did.
First meeting after I was gone, I was coming down the interstate and I had to fight my truck to keep it from going downtown. You know, it was.
I'd like to say one more thing. Since this is my last day, I'm happy in a good mood. I had a picture. We did an estate a couple of weeks ago from Greenville, Tennessee. This guy had been on the Auctioneer Commission, right, Bobby? Mr. King was on the Auctioneer Commission when Ned Ray McWhirter was governor. He became a judge. We sold his estate at our auction. And in it, I found a picture of Bobby Colson and 4 commissioners and Ned Ray McWhirter. I sold it online, and it brought $525 for a picture of Bobby
I
Colson.
got another thing for you. Same price. Split it with you, Howard.
There you go. It's on the record. We got it.
Do you have something else that, okay.
So we need to talk about the 2018 legislative proposals. If you all have any, this is the time to bring them up. I think, John, you sent in.
Received what I emailed you.
So you need to pitch it to the commission, and we have to vote on it, whether we move forward or not. So if you want to explain to them what you want to do, we can go
I don't
from
remember
there.
what I said now.
Do you want your email?
Sure.
I will tell you that with this being the last part of the governor, do you want to before we start? That's fine.
We'll take a 10-minute break, please.
You must have to go to the bathroom.
Won't take that long, but.
You need at least 5, right?
I think that's what they told me.
Thompson,
at
you got
first,
something
too.
you want to pitch?
No, you were
Showing
out.
up, they keep sending me emails. I'll keep showing up until I stop getting emails.
Is John's continuing with this?
Now that we're back from break, the first item was the legislative proposals. Have we determined if Mr. Thorpe or TA would go next? I guess Mr. Thorpe, are you going to?
Does not matter to me.
All right, go ahead,
Whatever the
sir.
chairman.
I will tell you, just to give you a heads up, this is the governor's last little bit of time, so which also means it's the commissioner of the department. So I would say not a lot of things, unless they're big things that need to get pushed through on legislation, will get picked up. So if you have something that doesn't get voted through, even if it gets voted through here, doesn't mean the department's going to pick it up. So it's also a good idea to pitch it to your association on the same time.
Well, this was stemmed from a discussion we had in the last meeting that it has to do with people selling their own items at auction. And I'll just read the email to you. It says, one change that needs to be made is people not required to have a license if they're auctioning their own items. An example would be if Glenn wants to move to Alaska and sell his own property at auction, he should be perfectly allowed to do that. Shouldn't be required to hire an auctioneer.
He can do that.
Yes, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
But what I am saying needs to be changed is that people that are operating auction houses and saying that they are selling their own merchandise. And one example, I run into a guy a few years ago and I just struck up a conversation. I said, I'm an auctioneer. He said, oh, my brother's an auctioneer. And I said, oh, really? Where at? And he said, well, he's not really licensed. And I said, oh, how does that work? And he said, well, the folks, they bring their merchandise there. He buys it from them for $1, and therefore it's his merchandise now. And he resells it, and I guess he gives them more money for it afterwards. But I said, oh, really? Okay. And but anyway, and another example that has happened is, just say Jimmy, that's a fake name, goes out and he buys a semi-load of returned merchandise for $10,000. Sticks up a sign, having an auction, sells the merchandise, says it's new, makes 20 grand. Next week goes to the next town. It's his stuff. There's nothing the Department of Commerce and Insurance can do to him. This is his own merchandise. However, he's running an auction house. He is engaged in the auction business, in my opinion. So, this is a problem all over the state that I believe needs to be changed.
So I would just tell you, from a legal standpoint, the moment that person buys the property, they have title to it, and legally it is their property, so they can sell it. I don't know how we would write this into statute. I think it's virtually impossible. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'm open to that, but I've talked to Roxanne about this. I've talked to my supervisor. We would have a huge issue with legal title. So
it's a huge issue, and somehow it needs to be addressed, in my opinion. But
What about? And it may not fall under anything you could do, but these folks that are having tag sales, they go in and tag it and let you come in and buy it for 3 days, and then on the 4th day they take bids. You say, I'll give X amount of dollars for it. And that goes on like for a day, and then they call you and say, well, you're the winning bidder. Is that not an auction? Are they? And we talked about this before, trying to do something about that.
I think it all goes back to who has legal title of the property. If it's theirs and they're selling their own property, then they are exempt.
They go in on estate sales.
If that's a situation, if they're actually auctioning off estate items, then...
Well, they don't call it an auction. They call it a tag sale. They don't have license. They're not under nothing.
Right, so...
They sell it. They put a tag of $5 on this. You come in for 3 or 4 days and buy, and what's left after like the 4th day, you go in and put bids on it.
The last day they're doing an auction.
The last 2 days. You go
They call it cleanup.
And I hate to say this, but we don't see that in complaints a lot. And until we see it in complaints a lot, that's another issue we're going to have of getting that. We don't see that in complaints at all.
Change our auctions to tag sales.
Mr. Colson, did you have a comment? You have to come up front and announce and give your name and address.
I think we've always, like what John was talking about, that's a problem. And the stance that they've always took, and what I've always heard, and it probably may not be nothing in the law, it's if it's your stuff and you do it, that's fine. But if it's a business model, where that's your business model of doing that and selling it and making money on it, that was a different thing altogether. But there may not be nothing in the law. That just may be the stance we've always taken. And you might look see if there's something in the real estate law about that. And what you're talking about, Ronnie, that tag sale stuff, all them guys around here's gone online.
Yeah.
So, and you're not going to get a complaint on it because they don't know where to complain, just like the online thing. If you ever got something done on the online thing, it would be a step toward getting the tag sale people.
Yeah.
I always tell people that say they don't know where to file a complaint to that they haven't looked hard enough because it says file a complaint right on our website. If you go Auctioneers,
they don't know it's an auction because they say it's not an auction, just like the online thing. They call up here and they say, well, that's online. We can't do it. They call the Auctioneer Commission, the Real Estate Commission. The Real Estate Commission says it's an auction. Call the Motor Vehicle Commission. Motor Vehicle Commission says it ain't us. It's an auction. They call over here. Our people say, well, it's online. We can't do nothing about it. So they don't know where to file a complaint.
Well, I would say that our staff doesn't tell people that just because it's online you shouldn't file a complaint. We pretty much tell people to file a complaint in all instances. And I can tell you if they call my office,
That's not what I'm hearing from people.
I can tell you if they call my office, even if I know it's not an issue, I tell them to file a complaint anyway. Because
Well,
those are things that need to come before.
let's suppose that you're Miss Jane Doe and you live in Powell, Tennessee, and there's a tag sale going on down the street in this part online auction, okay? And you buy something that's rotten, bad. You live in Powell, Tennessee, they're having a tag sale. These people never heard of the Tennessee Auctioneer Commission or the Tennessee protection law for that. So they don't know where to file. And I know that the state's not going to advertise. If you have a complaint about a tag sale or an online auction, please call. But they don't know. If people in the state of Tennessee knew where to file the complaints about these online auctions that they get screwed and tag sales, you'd have to have 75 lawyers to take care of the complaints, because it's everywhere. And if you don't believe it, you start your auction house up and stand where we're at and listen to the complaints that I went and they did this to me, they did this to me. I mean, you know, you're right, but you don't know about it. You can't do nothing about it.
I mean, that, and
But
that's
they
the
do
other thing
not
is that
know where to.
going back to legislation, we're going to have a hard time pushing anything through if we can't show that we've had a complaint. I mean, just like the timed listings, Senator Bell asked for a list of every complaint we had had about an online auction, and he reviewed them all. So,
But that was the wrong question. The next time it comes up, that is not the correct question to be asked. The question is, the answer is, go to the internet and look at the complaints. There was over 100,000 across the United States. There was over 100,000 lawsuits filed against online auctions. There weren't many of them in Tennessee. Most of them were in the big states.
so okay, going back to legislative proposals, do we have anything?
I don't think there's anything you can propose.
I mean, John, I think what you were saying, I understand it's an issue. I just don't think that that's something the department would pick up when we.
I think you have to state your name.
My name's David Allen. In address to what you were saying, John, talking about the dollar, buy something for $1, then they own it, they can sell it. At some point, that business model, they're giving more money back than $1 for the items that were sold. If at that point they're receiving what would then be considered a commission, is that not something that can be written into the legislation, that if you're receiving commission for the sale of someone else's property, that now becomes
It's not someone else's property.
Well, then
Legally.
Agreed.
So,
and so what would that stipend being given back to them, what would that be considered? I'm just asking.
The way they're handling that is, you bring something to me to sell, and you sign a contract that you sold it to me. And if you file a complaint on them, then they're going to bring the contract down here that John signed that contract. He sold me this merchandise, and I resold it, and yes, I made money on it. What are you going to do about it?
I hear what you're saying. So therefore, were taxes collected on that item when it was sold to the public in an auction format?
I mean, I can't answer that. So
So
I
my
mean,
point is, perhaps that would be the way to direct legislation that would be created, is to say, okay, fine, you can own it for $1, but then the moment you sell it, it only cost you $1. That was your cost into it. If you sold it for $100, you owe us tax on $99. That's your profit margin on it. You have to show us a receipt for the $1 that you bought it for, and a receipt that.
I mean, technically, and I'll answer this because I have
Yeah.
a tax LLM.
Yeah.
That person that collects 100 is going to have to count that into income, so they're going to pay taxes on it. So they're not going to pay sales tax because it's not technically a business. They're selling their own property, so it's just going to be income tax.
Okay.
So.
But I guess I hear, and everything you're saying still doesn't give us legislation. I get that.
That's the biggest issue, is that we're not going to talk a legislator into picking up legislation where, I mean, what am I supposed to propose to him? Okay, so we have this exemption where you can sell your own stuff, but if you buy it from someone for X amount of money and then you make money off of it, then you don't fall into that exemption. That's just not.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. Since I'm already standing up here, can I just explain, because it's going to segue into what you.
Well, and I was going to say, I don't think we have any legislative proposals then, is what I'm hearing. Okay, so you can go on with whatever you need to.
Yes, sir. It's TAA's legislative questions, and they just addressed one to.
You can sit down if you want.
I was just going to say I'm the vice president of the TAA, and on behalf of the TAA board, our purpose for being here this morning was to get sort of unequivocal clarity on where the TAC stands on the in the letter that was directed towards you, Mr. Phillips. There was some question as to whether your response to us represented only your view or the view of the entire TAC, and if so, we'd like to have that on the record as to what the stances are.
Well, to answer your question, sir, I really don't know. I sent everybody an email and to help me with that, and I got one back, and that was from Mr. Collier, and I included in my statement what he thought, but we're going to do it one by one so the association is going to know exactly where we stand. And we're talking about online auctions, right?
Well, we're talking about specifically extended time online auctions because as the statute reads now, the 2006 eBay law would exempt online auctions as fixed auctions where there is no extension of the auction process beyond a fixed time if there is bidding right at the end of it. The auction, there are those within the TAA, and we had a 99% vote. One person abstained from it, or excuse me, objected to it in the December meeting, that an extended time online auction was in effect an auction. The only difference was one is being conducted through the process of an electronic medium, a computer. The other one is someone standing up in front of somebody soliciting bids. Both have the same type of result. Both have the same type of process by which they get to that result, and that you continue the bidding process. And we just want some clarity as to where the TAC feels oversight, education, regulation should come as it relates to extended time online auction.
Well, the chairman of the Tennessee Auctioneer Commission believes that when there is a law passed, that it should be fulfilled by everyone, including the Tennessee Auctioneer Association, which has members that doesn't believe that that's the way it should be because they have proven themselves to that extent. And the Attorney General said that an online auction without an ending time was an auction, and you had to have an auctioneer license to extend an online bidding. And that's what I believe, and I don't believe that I or you or anyone else has the authority to overrule, including the legislators, to overrule the Attorney General unless there is proof that he was wrong. And so far, I've not seen that proof. And I believe that if you extend an auction online, you should have a Tennessee auctioneer license, period. Mr.
That's what we're here for, is to get the consensus.
I mean, y'all know my position. I was at the meeting, and it's exactly the same way. And the law is the law, and there's a whole lot of discussion about it. I don't know what needs to be changed. The law is the law. I mean, if you extend the bidding, you got to be licensed. If you don't, you're exempt. I mean, that's as cut and dried as I know that it is. I don't know what else we can do about it. I mean, that's my opinion, and I think we all stick with that. I wish we could roll back the law that we have now, but I don't think we have the money, the willpower, or the legal grounds from which to accomplish that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I concur 100% with these two. It should definitely be licensed, and I was at the TA in December and voted for it. So
I feel the same as these guys. I mean, and I was assured that it wouldn't go by the leader of it, but it did. So I'm with these guys 100%.
Okay. So just so I'm clear and can report back to our TAA board, all 5 members of the Tennessee Auctioneer Commission are in support of legislation that would make extended time online auctions under the purview of the Tennessee Auction Commission, as suggested or written by the Attorney General's opinion about what an extended time online auction is.
Right, I don't know how more clear you need to be about it. I
You
mean,
just cleared it up.
Right.
That's what I needed to know.
Hey, David,
Sir,
Yes.
I would tell you too from now on, I know that you did not send that email, but instead of sending it to one of the commissioners individually, if you'll send it to either myself, Roxana, or Glenn, then we can present it at an open forum like this. That way it doesn't put them in a situation where they're,
that puts us in violation of the Sunshine Law. If we-
yeah, or they have to give an opinion, which isn't the opinion of the entire board, or.
Gotcha.
But now we know the opinion of the entire board.
well, yeah, but hold on just a minute, Mr. Colson. How is somebody sending me an email putting me in the Sunshine Law?
When you have to forward it on to the other members, if you have a
I
discussion via
didn't forward
email.
it on to the other members.
I'm just saying, and on a go forward, they should send it to us, then we can present it at a meeting like this so we can have open discussion. If you answer that, like we need you to answer this email as a public member, not a member of the Auctioneer Commission. That way you're not representing opinions that may not.
It's no different than when somebody calls me and says, I want to complain about this guy. So, well, don't tell me anything at all about it, because if you tell me anything about it, I can't vote on it. I have to recuse myself. So file a complaint.
Just to be clear, that's why I'm here this morning.
I understand.
Yeah, so we can get it on the record as,
Right.
as representing the
Yep, I completely understand.
I would like to ask you a couple of questions. When we have when there's legislation coming up, I would like for the association to send out some emails to all the members, because the last time that this came up, you had some members from the association fighting the law, and you had 4 people that are representing it. I believe it was 4. How many members do you have in the association?
a little over 200. And
So if you've got 4 people out of 200 that are concerned about it,
well,
that's a problem.
Well, understand that we had just had our December meeting where we had a vote of whatever it was, near unanimous, one no vote as to having the TAA advance the at the time what was a rules. You all were trying to advance a rules change as opposed to actual legislation, and we had that discussion in front of the open membership at the meeting in December. We voted on where the TAA would stand. The TAA almost unanimously said, this is the view we want to take, which was the view you all were trying to put forth. We went to the Rules Committee on December 4th, presented our side, the opposition presented their side. It did not make it out of the Rules Committee. And overturning the AG's opinion and that was a pretty reasonable argument for oversight and regulation. And it became a matter of legislation that needed to be created, which is what we were told after the rules meeting was over, and they said, you just guys need to make a law if this is how you want things to get done. And so we tried to advance legislation, and we were told that that would probably not be in our favor at that particular point in time because of a serious and so we actually pulled the legislation so we could then reintroduce it in the 2018 legislature and not have to wait 2 years.
Well, we need to get on it.
Yeah, we having your unequivocal backing will help us at least clarify to the members who are wondering where you guys stand on it. That'll help us.
One more thing. I don't understand where some of the members didn't know where we stand, because at every meeting, this is where we've been. And for the past 3 years, I know that's where we've been. And that's where we're going to continue to be, and we'll back you up in any way we can, and we would appreciate the same thing from y'all. And we have this staff over here that is the best. How about you, sir? Would you like to say anything before Mr. Colson takes all our time?
One thing that might help James Gary. On John's issue, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there something in the motor vehicle law that you can only sell 5 vehicles per year that you own yourself, and then after that you have to be licensed?
I believe that is the case, but don't quote me because I'm not the motor V.
Same here.
Okay, I'm getting
That
the
is,
thumbs up.
that is exactly the law that the motor vehicle says, that you can buy five personal vehicles per year, but it's not enforced because people buy more, but it's there, and
Right.
but that is not in the auctioneer.
What I was thinking, I don't know if that would be a segue for John, that maybe you can only have 3 auctions per year of your own items. Because the intent of the law, obviously, was somebody to buy and move out. But now it's been skirted around. I just had that thought that might be a hook for you to.
I think it
to look
would be,
into.
and I think it should. I think it should be that you can do it one time in your lifetime, but maybe once a year.
One shot.
Bobby.
We had somebody over last week at our car auction last week checking on somebody that had bought and sold more than 5. But anyway, that wasn't what I was going to say. Ms. Mathers, I realize this is not nothing that the commission's going to do as far as legislation. It's just something I'd like for y'all to think about, especially you, and maybe we can get the TAA to do it or something. I think the way our law reads, it says if there's a misrepresentation of something in the advertising, it's a violation. I think that should read, and this is a stand that the commission's always took, at least that I've seen, is if it's a willful misrepresentation. You know, say somebody makes a representation, but it's a mistake, it's an accident. That don't necessarily make it a violation of the law in from what I've seen over the years in the commission. But, so I think we might need to do something to change that where it says it's a willful misrepresentation.
Well, and that's actually in rules, so that's something that we can discuss at the October meeting if you all want to move forward with that.
Is that in the rules?
Yep.
Okay,
Advertising
good.
is in the rules.
There was one where I know a guy that advertised the wrong square footage on a house, and it was an honest mistake, but that didn't keep him from getting sued, and that's part of what they're hanging their hat on, is it was a misrepresentation of what it says in the law, even though it was a mistake, you know. So.
Anybody else? Anybody have any? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to tell you all that there's probably some of us going to drive up the road and be sad because they're not coming back, but I have enjoyed it, and I've done the best to my ability to keep things going, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with y'all. Thank you very much.
You need a
Motion been made and second that we adjourn. Mr. Morris's time is up.
They think you got another year.
Howard, you know the truth. They throwing a party.
I know.
They got the hats and the party favors over in the other room. Yeah, get up here, go, David or James. I won't get up there where we got the seal behind.